My name is Mihaela and I was born in Romania. When I was 18 years old, I moved to Italy with my father. Then after a few months, the rest of the family, that is my mom and my other two brothers, followed us. I lived in Italy until I was 23, then I moved to England to continue my studies. After finishing my master's in London, I moved up north for work reasons. In 2017, I bought a house there, which I still own and where I currently am. In 2019, though, I decided that England is not for me and that a sunnier country would suit me better. I left everything and moved to south of France. After 4 months in France, I realized that my heart was still in Italy and decided to move back. I never regretted that decision, as Italy, in my view, has it all. Amazing scenery, great food, awesome people. Then, you might be asking, what went wrong? To be honest, I'm still not entirely sure what went wrong. I am still trying to figure it out why things went the way they did and how can I change this outcome going forward, because I do intend to go back to Italy and try it all over again, and hopefully this time I won't have to leave anymore. You might be a bit confused right now, so let me explain. I went back to Italy in the worst moment possible, November of 2019. No one still had a clue what was about to happen. I was positive and determined to find a job at least as good as the one I had in England. Worth mentioning that when I previously lived in Italy, I was struggling to find a job, but I thought that was because I had no studies and not enough work experience. So I was sure that this time things will be different because during my 6 years in England, my CV has improved a lot. I attained my master's after finishing my undergrad studies at Bologna University. I worked in a prestigious bank, in retail, but that wasn't the case, and that left me very disappointed. Up until the pandemic hit, some companies and some employment agencies did show some interest in me, however, not as much as I expected, and I also realized that the competition was fierce, as the roles available were not many, whilst the candidates in very high numbers. For roles such as secretary or receptionist, I saw even 1,000 candidates for one role. And that was, as I said, at the end of 2019, beginning of 2020. During the first big quarantine, I was housebound for 5 months with absolutely no chance of finding a job, but with a mortgage which I still had to pay. So I used all the savings I had from my previous employment. I couldn't wait for things to start moving again so I can find a job and be able to cover my expenses. Eventually the things start moving. However, in Italy, the employment market was still severely damaged. Only in October 2020 I eventually found a job after moving to Florence and after spending 3 months of rent in Florence without working whatsoever. And trust me, living in Florence, it's not cheap at all. The first job I had was way below my level and the pay was unacceptable. Eventually I managed to find a more suitable role, however it was only part-time and it wasn't allowing me to cover all my expenses. That is my mortgage in England, here including council tax, fuel bills which I still had to pay, house insurance, and also my rent and my expenses in Italy. I basically had a part-time job and 2 households to maintain on my own. Mathematically impossible unless I was earning a politician's salary, which wasn't my case. So for a few months I tried everything I could to find a part-time job in the afternoon, as I urgently needed money. However, that turned out to be impossible, at least for me. I did some counseling with someone who had a mental condition. However, that wasn't consistent enough to allow me to get out of the mess I was in. I also had few calls for some roles. However, they all asked me the same thing, that is, to be available full-time, even though the roles they were offering were only part-time. That for me wasn't an option, as I already had a job in the morning which I enjoyed, and I just wanted something in the afternoon. I did receive a couple of offers which were interesting, However, they were too far away from Florence. During my stay in Florence, I lived in a few different apartments. The first one was very big, great location and decently priced. Unfortunately, it wasn't available for the winter months, so I had to move. Then I moved into a lovely cottage, again big and decently priced, but that was because I could have it only for 2 months until my work colleague, who owns it, would have given birth. So I had to move again in a 1-bedroom flat, even this one decently priced, because I could have it only for 2 months. Yes, I know, it starts to sound like a nightmare. Then I found a tiny studio flat where I spent my last 5 months in Florence. And here is where extreme minimalism comes in place. This studio was extremely small. I could only fit about 20% of my stuff in there. The rest had to stay in a storage. At the beginning it was fine, as the place covered my 3 main requests, that is, affordable, independent, so I didn't have to share it with anyone, and also it was based in the countryside, close to the nature. Where I used to put my clothes. I used to put them down there and a bit up there. And then on this other side, here I was putting my dresses there, and there I was putting my underwear, and there I was putting the beddings, as you can still see them. And this is the bed. It's a double bed, but it's kind of taking all the space in the room. Not much space left, as you can see. This is a foldable table, so I can close it when I want. Let's see, very small, where you can kind of eat. And I had a chair. Then here is the TV, which I didn't really use because I didn't have many channels. Here I had the dishes, as you can see, 3 of them, and then glasses, and then some plastic containers, not much really. And then this is the rest. Again, not much. And here I had the cooking bit. Again, not much, just exactly the necessary, like really the necessary. There's the washing machine. I still have to take out some clothes. This is so small, looks like a toy. I mean, I don't know if you understand. Look. Honestly, it's really, really small. So I couldn't put a whole pizza inside. I had to cut the pizza in 2 because it's so small. Like, honestly, looks like a toy. And then in the fridge, the same thing. The fridge is very small as well. Still have some milk. And here in the freezer, I couldn't really put a whole pizza. So I had to cut the pizza in 2, defrost it first and then cut in 2 and put it inside, because it was so small. You couldn't even put a whole pizza there, like a whole small pizza. Even a small pizza I had to cut in 2. I'll take you outside. This is the backyard. I have a bit of a... This is in the back. All the space I had, and as you can see, I don't really have much light because I'm surrounded by buildings up to the sky. So I never really have any sun here. I never have any light. almost like a prison cell in here. Never really come very often outside. So what I want to show you now is the amount of light that I have during daytime in this apartment. Yeah, it's daytime now. I'll turn off the lights and you'll see what happens. Yes, exactly. You basically see, you don't see anything. Now I'm making some natural light, right, with these windows that I have. And I'll show you how much light do I have during daytime in this flat. That's it. So this is all the light I get during daytime in this flat. Like honestly, it's really, really, really hard to live in a flat where you have to leave the light on all the time, like the artificial light. You never have natural light inside. So for 5 months I lived in a flat where I had no natural light, so well, 5% as you can see. As the time went by, it felt more and more cramped. I was getting tired to see the same 4 walls all the time. I was missing the space, a separate kitchen, a normal bathroom, and all the other facilities I had in my house in England. I will add that I love the minimalist lifestyle and I consider myself a minimalist since forever, maybe because my parents kept way too much stuff in our house, and for me it felt like a deposit and I hated that. I remember even now how much I wanted to get rid of all that stuff my parents were keeping all over the place. So now in my house I only have the necessary and I avoid hoarding unless I am sure that I will use very often the object that I intend to keep. But I won't go too much into this topic here, maybe in another video. The bottom line is that a minimalist lifestyle never scared me. On contrary, I am very fond of it. However, in long term, I realized that the lack of space and comfort had a negative impact on my well-being. I was more and more stressed because I wasn't able to find a job to help me cover my bills, and the fact that I was spending my home time in such a tiny environment wasn't helping. During the summer, I didn't mind that, as I was out and about on the hills surrounding the village. But once October arrived, I just couldn't see myself living there. I had to leave. Now you might be thinking, why you didn't rent a room somewhere in Florence in a shared accommodation? Maybe some of you won't understand this. However, the fact is that I cannot live with other people, not even if those people are friends or family. I need to live alone. I cannot function if I don't have my own space. I am an introvert and I can only recharge my batteries in complete solitude. I shared houses before and for me it was unbearable. It's not a matter of being fussy, trust me. I am very easygoing. I grew up in Romanian countryside where we had a toilet outside for many years before moving it inside. It's just that for me, my home must be my home, my space, my sanctuary. I will eventually share my home with a man one day and I'm very happy about that. But apart from my man and my children, I really cannot live with anyone else. After analyzing all my options, I decided that the best thing for me in that moment was to return to England for a while until I will find a way to go back to Italy, or until I will finish the counseling school I am doing at the moment, and which will eventually allow me to work as self-employed in Italy in the future and be judged based on my results and my capability. So for the time being, in England, I would have the comfort I was missing during my last months in Italy, and most likely I could find a job in days. In fact, I wasn't even in England when I received my first job offer, which I kindly refused later on. England always offered me more work-wise, I never really struggled to find a job here. Now I work in the UK civil service and I work from home, so I am basically always alone. My next video will be about how do I survive completely alone, because I must admit my life at the moment is out of the ordinary. Thanks for watching and see you guys next time.